You gave him everything, your time, your love, your soul, and still he didn't see your worth. Still, he took you for granted. Because the truth is, brutal people don't respect what's always available. The moment you're always there, answering every call, forgiving every mistake, sacrificing every piece of yourself, he stops valuing you. Not because you're not enough, but because you gave him so much, he forgot you could ever walk away. Listen to me, the day you detach completely is the day his world shakes. The silence will be louder than any words you ever spoke. The absence will hit harder than your presence ever did. And that's when he finally sees it. That's when he finally respects you. Because respect is born in distance. Respect is awakened when you no longer beg, chase, or wait. Respect comes alive when you choose yourself. You need to understand this. When you detach, you don't just walk away from him. You walk back into yourself. You reclaim your power. You rebuild your strength. You stop being an option and become the standard. So stop clinging to the hope that one more chance will change him. Stop thinking your love will make him realize your value. It won't. Your absence will. Respect only grows. When you set boundaries, respect is not something you beg for. Respect is not something you demand with words. Respect is something you earn by what you allow and what you refuse. Every time you set a boundary, you are teaching the world how to treat you. You are telling people, this is how far you can go. This is where I draw the line. This is where my value begins. Boundaries are not walls to push people away. Boundaries are gates. Gates that protect your peace, your worth, and your energy. When you let people cross your boundaries without consequence, you send a silent message. My needs don't matter. My time doesn't matter. My heart doesn't matter. And the more you allow it, the less respect you receive, because people are wired to test limits. If you don't stand for yourself, they stop standing for you. Think about it. When you say yes, every time, even when your soul is screaming no, what happens? People stop appreciating your sacrifices. They start expecting them. They stop valuing your presence because they know you'll never leave. And slowly, they stop respecting you. But the moment you create boundaries, everything changes. When you say, no, I will not accept being treated this way, you shift the balance. When you walk away from toxic behavior, you show strength. When you stop tolerating disrespect, you raise the standard of how others must engage with you. That is when respect begins to grow. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. They say, I know my worth, and I will not allow anything less. And the truth is, the people who truly love you will never be offended by your boundaries. They will honor them. Because deep down, they know boundaries are a reflection of self-respect. And anyone who resents them is someone who benefited from you having none. Respect is not built on giving endlessly. It is built on limiting what drains you. Respect is not built on pleasing everyone. It is built on protecting yourself first. The strongest people are not the ones who carry everyone's burdens. They are the ones who know what they can carry and what they must lay down. When you have no boundaries, you live in chaos. People interrupt your peace whenever they want. They take your time, your energy, your kindness, and they never give back. But when you set boundaries, you build order. You create space for respect to grow. You show others that you are not a doormat. You are a door that only opens to love, trust, and kindness. So understand this: boundaries do not push people away. They filter people out. They reveal who is meant to be in your life and who is not. The ones who respect your boundaries are the ones who truly respect you. And those who fight against them only prove they were never for you in the first place. Boundaries are power. Boundaries are freedom. Boundaries are the silent language of self-respect. Detachment is not weakness. It is strength. Most people mistake detachment for coldness. They think walking away means you never cared. They think silence means you had no love. They think letting go means you gave up. But the truth is, detachment takes more strength than clinging ever will. Because clinging is easy. Staying attached to something that hurts you, something that drains you, something that no longer serves you. That is the comfort zone. But choosing to detach, to let go when every part of you wants to hold on, that is where real courage lives. Detachment is not about shutting off your emotions. It is not about pretending you never loved, never cared, never tried. Detachment is about reclaiming your power. It is about saying, yes, I loved. Yes, I cared. But I will not allow this to destroy me. It is standing in the storm and realizing you do not have to be swallowed by it. Weakness is staying in situations where you are not valued, hoping one more chance will change everything. Weakness is holding on to someone who keeps breaking you, thinking your love will save them. Weakness is losing yourself to prove your worth to someone else. But strength, real strength, is detaching before you lose yourself completely. Strength is looking at something you once thought you could never live without and saying, I will survive without this. I will rebuild myself. I will rise again. When you detach, you don't kill love. You save yourself. You stop begging for scraps of attention. You stop waiting for someone to change. You stop lowering your worth just to be chosen. Detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of self-respect. Understand this: when you are attached, you make decisions from fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough. Fear of letting go. But when you detach, you make decisions from strength. You choose peace over chaos. You choose clarity over confusion. You choose yourself over constant pain. Detachment is freedom. It means no one controls your happiness. No one owns your peace. No one dictates your worth. You can love someone and still detach from the need for their approval. You can care for someone and still detach from the idea that they must complete you. You can support someone and still detach from the belief that your existence depends on them staying. That is why detachment is power. When you are no longer attached, manipulation loses its hold on you. Toxicity loses its grip. Games lose their meaning. Because you have nothing to lose. You are no longer desperate. You are no longer afraid. You stand on your own, unshaken, unbroken, untouchable. Detachment doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you love without chains. You love without obsession. You love without self-destruction. You love with the freedom to walk away if that love stops honoring you. It means you can give your heart without giving away your soul. And here is the paradox. The moment you detach, you become more respected. Because respect is born when you show that you can live without what you once thought you needed. Respect comes when you prove that your worth is not tied to anyone's presence. Respect grows when you reveal that you don't cling. You choose. Detachment is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength, because it takes bravery to stay, but it takes far more bravery to walk away. Your silence is more powerful than your words. There comes a moment when words no longer carry weight. You've explained yourself 100 times. You've begged. You've pleaded. You've argued. You've poured your soul into conversations that went nowhere. And still, nothing changed, because words lose power when they are not respected. And the more you speak to someone who refuses to listen, the less they hear you. The more you try to prove yourself, the more invisible you become. That is when silence becomes your greatest weapon. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. It speaks louder than explanations, louder than arguments, louder than tears. Silence is the declaration that says, I no longer owe you my energy. I no longer owe you my voice. I no longer owe you access to my soul. Think about it. When someone crosses your boundaries, you can shout, argue, or try to convince them why it hurt you. But sometimes the greatest impact is when you simply go silent. No defense, no justification, no fight. Because silence forces people to sit with themselves. Silence holds up a mirror. Silence leaves them with nothing to push against, nothing to manipulate, nothing to twist. Silence is power because it creates space. It creates distance between you and the chaos. It removes you from the endless cycle of conflict. It gives you clarity. And it makes the other person feel the weight of your absence. They may ignore your words, but they cannot ignore your silence. When you stop speaking, when you stop chasing, when you stop explaining, that is when people begin to notice. Because silence is not passive. Silence is active. It is intentional. It is deliberate. It sends a message. I could speak, but I choose not to. I could explain, but I owe you nothing. I could argue, but my peace is worth more. Silence also protects your dignity. How many times have you said things in anger, only to regret them later? How many times have you lowered yourself in desperation, just to make someone understand? Words spoken in desperation often weaken your position. But silence never needs to be taken back. Silence never diminishes you. Silence keeps you in control. And here's the truth: silence is often remembered longer than words. People forget what you said, but they never forget the day you stopped saying it. They never forget the shift when you no longer gave them the privilege of your voice. That silence lingers. It unsettles. It forces them to ask questions they cannot escape. Silence is not about punishing others. It is about protecting yourself. It is about choosing peace over chaos, self-respect over arguments, strength over weakness. When you remain silent, you conserve your energy. You channel it into growth, into healing, into rebuilding yourself. Silence allows you to rise above the noise while others are still stuck in it. Even in relationships, silence is transformative. You don't need to keep proving your worth to someone who refuses to see it. You don't need to keep reminding someone of how much you care. Because when you withdraw your words, when you stop filling the space, they finally feel the emptiness. They finally notice what they took for granted. And sometimes silence shakes them more than any speech ever could. Your silence tells the world, I know my worth. I don't need to explain it. I don't need to fight for it. I don't need to waste my breath convincing anyone of it. Silence becomes the shield that protects your heart and the sword that commands respect. Words can be twisted. Words can be ignored. Words can be forgotten. But silence is undeniable. Silence is unforgettable. Silence is power. Choosing yourself forces others to value you. For so long, you've been taught to put everyone else first, to sacrifice your time, to give your love without limits, to bend yourself just to keep the peace. You believed that if you gave enough, loved enough, tried enough, eventually people would value you. But here's the truth: they won't. Not until you value yourself. Not until you choose yourself first. People watch how you treat yourself. If you constantly betray your own needs, they learn that it's acceptable to betray them too. If you silence your voice to keep others comfortable, they learn that your voice doesn't matter. If you stay when you should have walked away, they learn that your boundaries are negotiable. Respect doesn't grow from how much you give. Respect grows from how much you refuse to lose yourself while giving. And that begins the moment you choose yourself. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop caring for others. It doesn't mean you become selfish or heartless. It means you stop abandoning yourself to meet someone else's expectations. It means you protect your peace, even when others want to drag you into chaos. It means you honor your needs, your worth, and your truth above everything else. Because when you choose yourself, something shifts. People feel it. They realize they cannot take your presence for granted. They realize they cannot mistreat you without consequence. They realize they either meet you with respect or they lose access to you completely. Choosing yourself is the ultimate form of teaching. You don't have to lecture people about your value. You show them by the way you live. You show them by walking away from disrespect. You show them by refusing to shrink. You show them by saying, I am enough, and I will no longer settle for less than that. And here's the paradox: the more you choose yourself, the more others begin to value you. Not because you begged them to, not because you convinced them, but because self-respect is magnetic. Confidence is undeniable. When you honor yourself, people are forced to adjust the way they treat you, or they lose the privilege of you altogether. Think about it. When you chase someone, when you make them the center of your world, what happens? They stop valuing your effort. They stop respecting your love. But when you shift that energy back into yourself, when you start pouring into your own growth, your own dreams, your own healing, suddenly they notice. Suddenly, they feel the absence of your attention. Suddenly, they realize your worth. Choosing yourself creates boundaries without words. It shows people that your time is sacred, that your energy is not free, that your love is not endless. It teaches them that if they want access to you, they must rise to meet your standard. And it's not just about relationships. Choosing yourself changes everything. Your career, your friendships, your family. When you choose yourself at work, you stop being overworked and underpaid because you know your skills are worth more. When you choose yourself in friendships, you stop entertaining people who only call when they need something. When you choose yourself in family dynamics, you stop carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. The world responds to the energy you project. If your energy says, "I am desperate to be chosen," you will attract people who use that desperation. But if your energy says, "I have already chosen myself," you attract people who respect, honor, and value you. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. Because the truth is, if you don't choose yourself, you teach others that it's okay not to choose you either. If you don't respect yourself, you teach others that disrespect is acceptable. If you don't value yourself, you give permission for others to overlook your worth. You cannot expect the world to give you what you are unwilling to give yourself. And once you make that shift, once you decide that you are no longer begging for love, no longer chasing validation, no longer sacrificing your soul just to belong, everything changes. People start to notice. They either step up or they step away. But either way, you win. Because choosing yourself is never about them. It's always about you. It's about reclaiming your voice. It's about living in alignment with your truth. It's about demanding respect without ever saying a word. Choosing yourself forces others to value you because it shows them that you are not afraid of being alone. You are not afraid of walking away. You are not afraid of standing on your own. And nothing commands respect more than a person who refuses to abandon themselves for the comfort of others. Love without self. Respect will always destroy. You love is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It can heal. It can inspire. It can transform lives. But love, when given without self-respect, does not build you. It breaks you. So many people believe that love alone is enough. That if you give more, forgive more, sacrifice more, everything will work out. They believe that if they pour everything into someone else, eventually that person will see their worth and love them back the same way. But love without boundaries is not love. It is surrender. And surrender without self-respect always leads to destruction. When you love without self-respect, you begin to lose yourself piece by piece. You let things slide that you know are wrong. You silence your voice just to keep the peace. You stay quiet when your heart is screaming because you're afraid that speaking up will push them away. You compromise your values, your standards, your dignity, just to hold on to someone who doesn't value you enough to meet them. And at first, it may seem small. One excuse, one overlooked betrayal, one sacrifice you thought would bring you closer. But little by little, you start erasing yourself. Your needs stop mattering. Your feelings stop mattering. You stop mattering. And that is the slowest, most painful kind of destruction. Not from the hands of someone else, but from the choices you made to keep a love that was never balanced. Self-respect is the foundation of every healthy relationship. Without it, love turns into chains. Without it, affection becomes manipulation. Without it, your kindness is used against you. When you love without respecting yourself, you teach others that your worth is negotiable, that your boundaries don't exist, that your heart can be mishandled without consequence. And once someone knows they can cross your lines without losing you, they will keep crossing them. You cannot call it love if it costs you your dignity. You cannot call it love if it silences your truth. You cannot call it love if it forces you to shrink so that someone else can shine. Real love requires two things: giving and respect. And respect begins with you. When you hold yourself to a standard, when you honor your boundaries, when you say, "This is who I am, and this is what I will not accept," you create the space for love to grow without destroying you. Think about it. When you love without self-respect, you are not really loving them. You are worshiping them. You are putting them on a pedestal while you bury yourself in the ground. That is not love. That is dependency. And dependency always turns toxic because it is fueled by fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being unworthy, fear of not being chosen. But when you love with self-respect, everything changes. You can give deeply without losing yourself. You can care fully without compromising your values. You can stay committed without tolerating disrespect, because self-respect sets the boundary between love and destruction. It says, "I love you, but I love myself too. And if loving you means abandoning myself, then I cannot stay." And here's the truth. The love that costs you your self-respect is never real love. It is control. It is manipulation. It is fear dressed up as connection. Real love is built on freedom, on trust, on equality. It does not demand that you break yourself to keep it alive. It does not ask you to bleed just to prove that you care. Real love grows stronger when both people protect their dignity, their truth, their sense of self. Love without self-respect is like pouring water into a cup with no bottom. No matter how much you give, it will never be enough. It will keep draining you until you are empty, until there is nothing left. And then the same people you gave everything to will turn around and say you were never enough. That is the cruelest lesson of all. When you abandon yourself for love, you end up losing both. You must understand, loving someone is not about losing yourself in them. It is about walking beside them while staying whole. It is about sharing your world without erasing your own. It is about building something together, not burning yourself down to keep them warm. When you love with self-respect, you don't beg for attention. You attract it. You don't chase validation. You command it. You don't settle for half love. You demand the fullness of it because you know you are worthy of it. And the right person, the person who truly loves you, will never ask you to abandon yourself for them. They will honor your self-respect because they have their own. They will value your boundaries because they understand the value of their own. But when you give love without self-respect, you invite heartbreak that could have been avoided. You open the door to people who will take until there is nothing left. You teach them that your soul is a price they can afford to pay. And once you've given away your self-respect, you don't just lose love, you lose yourself. That is why the most important choice you will ever make is to love yourself first. Because when you love yourself, you set the standard for how the world loves you. You refuse to settle for less than respect. You refuse to stay where you are diminished. You refuse to call it love when it feels like chains around your heart. Love is powerful, but love without self-respect is poison. And if you drink it long enough, it will destroy every part of you that once felt alive.